Well, he says that we all agree that we need to get our debt in order. We didn't all agree on that 2 years ago. The Tea Party has changed the debate in Washington. When Corey's old boss, Barack Obama, showed up in Washington 2 years ago, the first thing he did was pass almost $1 trillion stimulus package. Then he passed a massive government takeover of health care that's also multi-trillion dollars. And then 5 months ago, he introduced a budget that would raise the national debt by $10 trillion over the next 10 years. And now, a few months later, after the Tea Party has sunk its teeth into Washington, President Obama is talking with Republicans about reducing the debt between $2 and $4 trillion. We're no longer discussing whether we should reduce the debt. We're discussing how and by how much.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Mark. So, you know, in a way, Corey,
happening.
that goes exactly back to your initial point, Corey, which is that the Tea Party is indeed a legitimate political movement in this country. And that's proven by the influence that it has had on the whole political process, which is actually astonishing, isn't it?
Oh, there's no question about that, Martha, no question about that. The problem is that when you allow a very narrow faction within the party to have the level of power and influence that it has, I mean, you have people publicly debating over whether Mr. Cantor is actively trying to take over the position of Mr. Boehner. I mean, that's the level of impact that they've had within the party. So what's been fascinating to watch is not so much the debate between Republicans and Democrats, but Republicans, Tea Partiers and non-Tea Partiers.
Yeah, but isn't that healthy?
Party.
You know, I mean, isn't that healthy? You know, I mean, we live in an American democracy, right? So what you're seeing is, I mean, forever, all we've ever heard is that people get elected, you send them to Washington, and the things that they promise on the campaign trail just go right out the window. So now you've got a situation where people got elected, and we've interviewed, you know, so many of them here over the course of the last several months, and we say, well, are you going to negotiate? What are you going to do now? And they say, I'm not going to vote to do anything that raises taxes because it's against my principles and it's against what all those people back home, what I promised them I was going to do. So I'm not sure why it's being seen as this, you know, sort of politically extreme faction that may over-influence, you know, sort of the powers that be in Washington. It seems that they're influencing to the extent that they possibly can.
Ultimately, Tea Partiers were brought to Washington to shake up the system and not blow up the system. And ultimately, by having a position that ultimately is immovable, that's exactly what they're doing. Ultimately, real people are going to be impacted by this.
All right, Mark?
Here domestically and globally. If
you want to understand the need for the Tea Party system, just look at some of the solutions that have been put forward in the last few weeks. The bipartisan Gang of Six came out to Senator Conrad and said they're cutting taxes by a net $1.5 trillion. And it turns out what their proposal is a $3 trillion tax cut. You've got the McConnell plan, which has Republicans vote to give Obama the power to raise the debt limit with nothing in exchange, but then they get to vote it down 3 times and claim they were against the debt limit.
I think you meant a tax hike on that, Mark, just for the Gang of Six.
Tax hike, yes. Yeah. And so they have $3 trillion tax hike, exactly. And so what the Tea Party was established not just to challenge Barack Obama, but to challenge the Republican establishment that has these go-along, get-along proposals all the time. And they're keeping politicians' feet to the fire in Washington, and it is one of the most positive developments we've ever had in our politics.
Corey, you want to have a final thought?
Just one quick word
here.
Let's appreciate what this debt debate has been about. It's been about paying for what has come before. 2 tax cuts that weren't paid for, a prescription drug benefit that wasn't paid for. Those are the things that we're paying for now, and that's what we're focused on. The fact that the Tea Party folks are here, they've had a tremendous impact to be sure, but they came dangerously close to bringing us to the brink of destruction.
You know, you just wonder that we constantly hear, you know, that we're up against a deadline, so we have to cut some kind of deal. And I wonder, we've been running deficits for 58 years. In this country. That's an awfully long time. And the American people hear over and over, oh, well, right after this break or right after this vote, we're going to get down to the business of doing what you say you want to do. So I think it's a fascinating moment to watch unfold, and we'll see where it goes. Corey Elens, thank you very much.
It's a big moment. It's a chance for us to do some big things.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Good to have you here today, Corey and Mark. Gentlemen, thank you. We appreciate your time. All right. So here's a question that's sort of along